Hey guys, John here. Darkglass have just opened the new Anagram Marketplace, which means that other developers can now release plugins and amp models and IR packs and everything through there, which is very interesting and cool. So today we're going to take a look at that, and let's start right away with the demo track using the two new Bogren digital plugins from the marketplace, the Rev C and the STD Bass Sim. Check it out. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. So for those tones, I used my Mozer Chariot mono through the Anagram by Darkglass and then into the DAW, and those were the tones that you heard for the guitars as well as the bass guitar. Now this is the first time that I'm featuring the Anagram on my channel by Darkglass, and this is a really cool little device. Compact for sure, but very powerful. I think this is primarily, or was primarily, marketed to be a bass processor because there's a lot of stuff for bassists on here. However, as it turns out, it's also really cool for guitarists, which I'm primarily going to focus on in this video, but I will also show you that bass preset a little bit later in this video. But yeah, since I am a guitar player primarily, I'm going to focus on the guitar aspect, okay? Now the Anagram has a bunch of stuff built in. A lot of effects, amp models, cab models, etc. It's quite a cool unit with touchscreen and pretty cool graphics and a lot of functionality. So even though it's compact, it's a really capable unit in terms of the signal chain and the usability and everything. And, you know, I've really enjoyed working this so far. I think the touchscreen is great. You know, switching modes between preset, stomp, and scenes mode and programming everything has been quite effortless. So that has been a nice surprise, right? Now, I'm not sure if they are the very first ones, but it does seem like a new thing for guitar or bass amp modeling products to open a marketplace where other developers can release their amp sims and plugins, etc. for a platform, in this case, the Anagram. So I think that's kind of cool how this opens the door to other people, you know, to release things through that marketplace. Now, of course, we have products from Bogren Digital, which is a great company. I'm going to focus primarily on their products in this video, but we also have stuff from Nembrini Audio. My friend Leo Gibson has a NAM pack on there, which is really nice. So there are a bunch of developers who are releasing products for the marketplace. So that's cool. There's even some free stuff in there. I think some pedals and some effects, etc. So that is quite nice. And purchasing something in the store and adding it to your device is quite easy. You know, you just go to the store, pick the product that you want to install or that you want to purchase. You purchase it, you pay for it. Not if it's a free product, of course. You add it to your library, and then with the Darkglass suite, you can install them onto your device, and there you go. So it's a quite easy process, right? And I think this is not really going to affect all the stuff that Darkglass is wanting to add for themselves, because these are different developers who are creating these products, right? So Darkglass will still be adding their own updates, etc. to the Anagram. And to be honest, it's exciting to see where this product will go because it is kind of unique in the size and the functionality. Now let's go ahead and check out the presets that I made for the demo song. Right now I'm holding my Schecter PT Black Ops guitar, this stealthy beast with the Fishman Fluence modern open core in the bridge. Right now I'm set to the active voicing, and I'm going into the preset that I used for the heavy guitar tones in the demo track. This is the signal chain over here. We've got two scenes going on because in the middle of the song for the guitar on the right side, I did enable a couple of effects, which I will show you. But we have a noise suppressor up front. If you click on the desired effect, you can tweak the settings very easily. We have a gain knob for adding some gain into the AmpKnob Rev C, which is this effect over here. I'm using the stock cab for that effect. And then for that middle section, I enabled a phaser and some reverb. So it's a very simple signal chain, and I'm a simple guy, so that works, right? So it sounds something like this. So that's a very pleasing high gain sound, very mix ready. As we know from Bogren Digital, they make plugins, you know, the AmpKnob series that are just, you know, you slap them on a guitar track, tweak them for a couple seconds and boom, you're done. That's the same idea with this AmpKnob Rev C. It's very simple. In fact, it's more simple than the plugin that you can load in your DAW. It's basically a rectifier with a boost up front, with a built-in cab with IRDX on, which is Bogren's technology to sort of emulate the dynamic behavior of a speaker cabinet. And you've got an output control, so gain, the cab on and off, and an output control. And that's it. So it's like very stripped down, but you know, as soon as you plug in, you're ready to go basically. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play through that tone, right? So I definitely hope that Bogren will add more of their AmpKnob sims into this unit because it's just so effortless to get great tones out of a platform like that. Now, even though it's very basic with only a gain control and a cab on and off, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do inside of the unit itself. Of course, you can add EQ, modulation effects, or even a boost up front, even though you don't need that with this particular AmpKnob since there is already a boost baked in. But for the sake of this video, let's disable the cab. So the stock cab, it's going to sound pretty shitty. There you go. And we're going to add one of my own IRs just to see how that sounds, okay? Because all of that is possible within this platform. Now, let's go to the amp and cab section and load a new block. So these are a bunch of the amps that you get with the unit itself. And then over here, we have a bunch of the stuff from the marketplace, like some cab IRs from Forward Audio, an amp from Nembrini. Maybe we can try that a little bit later. But in this case, what I want to do is load a user cab. So I've loaded a couple of my cab packs onto this unit. And now that we are in the user cabinet section, we can, you know, choose an IR. So this is my Heyday pack, which is based on a Hesu Demon. Let's go for Mix 2, which is a blend between a 57 and a 421 Kompakt. I like that. That's one of my favorite IRs. Let's boost up the level a little bit as well. has a nice roar to it. Let's try another cabinet as well, or another speaker, I should say. This is the Carney, which is based on a carnivore. That's a different flavor. Let's go ahead and navigate to my VI30, which is my own Celestion Vintage 30. Let's go for Mix 1. That is the speaker that I use for most of my videos. Sounds awesome, right? So now that we have a user cab dialed in and the cab block or the cab sim in the AmpKnob Rev C turned off, we have a nice tone going on, right? Let's add some modulation and reverb as I did in the intro track as well. And just by going to the second scene, and that turns on both effects. And of course, if you want to tweak an effect, you just click on the block and then you can tweak all the parameters and stuff. So it's like really easy to use, right? Same goes for the reverb, of course. And you know what, if you want a different type of effect, you click on this little icon over there with the arrows and then you can choose something else. So let's go for the hall reverb just to see how that sounds. Let's check it out. So that sounds pretty mighty. And of course, there are way more effects in here, right? You can have like parallel signal chains, parallel effects and everything. So it's a bit more capable than you might think at first glance, okay? So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this unit myself. Just for fun, what I want to do is try the Nembrini Hardball, which is like an Engel Powerball sim with all the channels and all the switches and everything. So that's kind of cool. So let's open up a clean preset or an empty preset and do some tweaking there. So, and of course, this is also something that is available in the marketplace. Okay, so this is the Nembrini Hardball, and let's see how that sounds. Now, it's not perfect by default. Let's raise up the gain. It's a little bit noisy, so we want to add a noise gate up front. Let's do that right away. The noise suppressor. There we go. That cleans it up nicely. Now this one has a bunch of controls, as you can see. A bunch of controls. So let's start in the cabinet section and tweak the cab block a little bit. Now let's go for the EN412 cab. Which is already better sounding. And let's put the microphone on axis. And also put the mic closer to the center. For a bit more of an in-your-face sound. So this sounds pretty good, right? So that's the built-in cabinet for this particular amp sim. For the sake of it, let's bypass it once more and add a user IR. Because that's my own sound. So I obviously like my own IRs a lot. Nice. Back to the amp. So right now, I think we are on channel 3. You can go to the different channels and stuff. So it's like a really in-depth amp sim, this one, which is nice. Yeah, we're on lead 3 right now. And we can tweak to taste, of course. Let's add a little bit of presence. Etc. So it's cool how you get different flavors of different companies. Like the Bogren stuff sounds very good, is very simple. And then this Nembrini stuff, for example, is more advanced, has more controls. So it's like different flavors that you can get into one device. And I really like that concept. Everybody can add their own unique stuff in there. So that's really cool. Now, if you want to see what they have on offer, just go to the Anagram Marketplace and see what sort of stuff you can buy there. Or check out the free stuff as well. I think there's like a free Nembrini tube screamer, stuff like that, some distortion stuff and some effects and everything. So you can play around with a bunch of stuff already, which is cool. And even though there's not a whole lot on offer for guitar just yet, I'm really enjoying what they have so far. Now let's also take a look at the bass preset that I used for the intro track. And let me grab my bass guitar for that. All right, I've grabbed my Ibanez BTB 805 MS. I hope that's the correct model number, but this is basically the bass that I use for everything these days. It's a multi-scale bass. For this demo track, I have it tuned to drop C for the bottom 4 strings. This is like the entire preset, so I didn't add any processing in the mix. It sounds really good. So I'm starting off the chain with the noise suppressor, and then the Bogren Digital AmpKnob or Bassknob STD. Again, very simple. We have a gain control, a clean or dirt setting, then the cab that you can also turn off again with the IRDX on it, and an output control, right? So we can, you know, dial down the gain a little bit for a bit more of a cleaner tone. Or dial it up for more grit. So that's cool. I like the gnarliness of this amp sim for bass. There's a lot of like bite and clarity and definition in there, which sounds really nice in a mix. Of course, you can also set it to clean. You know, simple as that. So that is the bass knob, and then I added a compressor as well. It's a FET or FET compressor. That's basically evening everything out and squashing everything a little bit. And that's the bass tone. So that's really cool that they added the Bassknob STD in here as well, especially since the Anagram is kind of known for being a bass processor primarily. So that is cool. So that's my take on the new Darkglass Anagram Marketplace, which is a really cool concept. Again, it allows other developers to put their stamp, their tonal stamp on the Anagram, so they can add, again, amp simulators, amp profiles and captures, effects, cabinets, etc. So I think it's a cool concept. Is it a bummer that you have to pay for these products, or at least not all of them, but some of them? Some of you might say, oh, you have to pay for them, but you're supporting those other companies, right? So Of course, they're not going to give you everything for free, which makes a lot of sense. And I think the prices are very fair as well. So yeah, I like it. Kudos to Darkglass and also all the developers for putting this whole thing together. I'm impressed, and I really like the Bogren AmpKnob, Rev C and Bassknob STD especially, because, you know, Bogren make excellent products in general. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, because I'd love to know. What do you think of the Anagram Marketplace? Also be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as that really helps the channel out. And of course, you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.